May my voice be strong, and this step be light. May my learning come on this wheel of time, as a breath be took. May the
Spoilers, people, we are continuing what looks like to be the COVID-19 chronicles of the podcast, because unlike other podcasts that are shut down because of COVID, we're doing what we can to bring you some type of content.
I think they might have opened, well, the one podcast that had closed and hadn't pivoted as elegantly. They're back up doing live stuff now. Well, fresh.
Well,
but I don't know if anyone else is out.
well, we're not. It's not like we're Kevin Smith that he does all the podcasts all the time. Still,
Yeah.
this. But anyway, what we are is that we all have an X-Chromosome. My name is Bill,
And I'm Noelle.
and we're going through basically our list of previous guests to be an additional voice in the carnage that is the virus. But we're going to try and talk about other shit that'll keep people's minds off of things while we talk about news, notes, and other things. So before we get to that, we'll go through and bring up the business. You can find all of our information on our website, xchromosomepodcast.com, where we have all the links to our social media, our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube. Basically, the only things that we don't have is TikTok and Twitch, and I'm not young enough to TikTok. I don't have the dance moves, and now that I have a good computer, I might try to figure out how to do the Twitch thing for sound editing, so we'll see what happens with that. So who knows what will happen. But also, this will have our blog posts or any other updates for the website. It's also got links to it's also got live feeds down to the Twitter and the Facebook, so you can get that right on our Facebook's, our main page, if you want to look at our various feeds. Importantly, though, is our two links one for Patreon. Thank you, Patreon subscribers, especially Vanessa, who is one of our executive producers and monthly sponsor. Whenever she wants to go through and give us a personal sponsorship message, she's free to do so. Also, we have a direct payment link for PayPal for people that don't want to go on a subscription but want to throw us a couple of bucks. These help for paying the bills, especially when next year rolls around. And also, we're going to have to start paying out some of our paywall bills for like the Washington Post and things like that. We need to be able to access content so we can give you better future content. And right now, content is king to try to get everything figured out.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have other show ideas in the works, but it's more the fact of will it matter in the future? So, but like for example, we're gonna be talking about health equity in next week. We have someone that has experience with that coming in to talk with us, and that we're gonna try and do what we can in the face of this crisis, along with bringing you some of the things that we geek about and personal insights about what's going on.
Yeah.
And finally,
I am alive. I'm just a little bit out of it. It's been an interesting week for me career-wise.
We're going to bring all that up because it's been interesting weeks for everybody. And lastly, second to lastly, email us. We want your feedback. Email addresses, write us at xchromosomepodcast.com. Give us questions, comments, concerns, anything. We'll read, we'll respond. Basically, only thing that gets sent there right now is spam messages trying to go off and get us to display bad links on our website. But we want actual content to us too. So feel free to write us at xchromosomecontent.com. We do that. Write us at xchromosomepodcast.com. That's write us at xchromosomepodcast.com. And lastly, we want our algorithms to dance, so leave us a like, subscribe, rate, review on all your podcast platforms. Help us so we can make the algorithms dance. so we get people to help with the show so we can make a better show overall. This also includes writing a review on Facebook. So we want to be able to break the algorithm that they have to get our content, which is a lot of news on it. We really like hammer down news onto that Facebook page. So yeah, let's do all that and help us out. And we're gonna get to the meat and potatoes of this. Speaking of meat and potatoes, we're gonna go way into the Wayback Machine to our first guest. I want to reintroduce.
Right.
Yep. I want to reintroduce Errick.
Hello.
There he is. Hi, Eric. Welcome to the ongoing existential crisis that is not only this podcast but the world.
It's been an adventure, hasn't it?
I want off. I'm done. There has been frost 2 or 3 days in a row here.
Oh my gosh.
On top of everything else, Ohio is drunk, and we would like a refund.
We had snow. What was it, last weekend? This past weekend, we had snow here in Massachusetts.
Yeah, we had a flurry.
Yeah, we had snow up closer to the lake, too. It didn't do it here in central Ohio, but that's not for want of trying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not here to talk about the weather, but still, the weather, what the hell?
God damn it, global warming. Can you not? On top of everything else, one crisis at a time.
Never.
I thought the world was healing itself, not going through this shit.
Feeling itself.
I mean, the upside to the ridiculous weather is that it is sort of keeping people inside.
Yeah, here it got nice real quick. So I live across the street from a rather large park. And so, I mean, people in my town are being pretty okay about stuff, but I still see just enough people out and about, and I'm just rolling my eyes and staying in my house with my cats.
Maybe if I had cats, I wouldn't mind staying in the house completely, but I need to at least try to take a walk, because for the longest time the whole entire thing wasn't getting to me, but now it's starting to get to me a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of cabin fever, and it's not because of wanting to go get my hair cut or things like that. It's really because I want to see people in less than a 6-foot range.
Well, there is actually there is a lot of research about people being in isolation and even in stages of isolation, because I know you, like I, live with other people.
Right.
But even with that, there's been research on people in Antarctica and people on the ISS about there's a certain amount of time in what people perceive as being the length of time they're supposed to be in isolation or in a place that's really isolated. You hit something around, they call it the third quarter, and that's when everyone starts getting squirrelies, because they're over that halfway point, but they realize they still have a long way to go, and so everyone starts getting a little bit there's a whole really interesting article about it that I can't remember the name of naturally.
Yeah, and to top all this off, I start my Adderall again tomorrow.
Yay!
So for those that don't know, and basically only people that know about this is people that are my friends on social media, I start the day waking up and downing a Starbucks double or triple shot in the morning.
Not even gonna lie, I look forward to that picture every day.
You don't know how many people have said that to me. They're like, I didn't do it on a Saturday. They're like, where's the picture? And I'm like, it's Saturday. I don't have to work.
What you should do is at the end of all of this, when you're done, make a compilation album that is just every single one of those.
I will probably go through and I should probably put them all in an album in Facebook anyway, just
to make it easier on yourself. Yeah. Gonna do a lot of scrolling there, buddy.
Yeah, because I do 2 or 3 pictures, and I get thank you, because it's people are okay, there's the picture. This is a moment in time where I could look forward to, and I'm all right, I will keep doing it, and I just
I think that's why we're all addicted to Animal Crossing too, because it's every time when you log on for that first time, you've got Butterpup. What is her name? Whatever her name is. I'm good at this. Okay.
Alpha Riff isn't here to talk about Animal Crossing. So.
Anyway, but every time you log on for the first time, she says, good morning or good afternoon or whatever. This is what time it is on this day, and it's like, oh, okay, another day has passed.
But anyway,
that's an interesting way to keep time.
Video game. But yes, I'm gonna be downing this double shot of espresso with my Wellbutrin and my Adderall first thing in the morning, and hopefully not bounce off walls. So.
This is going to be great, people.
This is going to be fun. What we should do is just like have like a cam on you for the first like couple of hours, just to see like at what frequency your like whole being shakes.
Yeah, I would have to make sure the cam was muted because my work deals with PHI. So
that's fair. Yes,
but
yeah,
I'll give live reporting on Patreon.
The new from what I've experienced, whenever you're reintroducing a legal hardcore stimulant into your coffee routine, it gets a little bananas for like a day. I discovered cold brew coffee the other week on the subject of cold brew and Adderall. I drank it. I was like, it's coffee. It's brewed when it's brewed to taste good cold. It shouldn't be horrible. No, it is more potent than I expected, and I could see everything. It was great for work. I got so much done.
I feel like cold brew coffee that's been sitting in your fridge for probably too long, plus your morning antidepressant and like a multivitamin is like the breakfast of champions right now.
Yeah, it's like my friend Donnie, he makes his own cold brew at home. So he's gonna be outraged, but he's not gonna probably listen to him. But he's gonna be outraged that you had mentioned that the fact that we're working together on the podcast. Whatever, it's not like I'm giving you anything. But he drinks cold brew, and like almost exclusively like that. And he's like, and I've tried cold brew a few times, like whatever. But I put so much shit in my coffee that it's barely registered as coffee. Like even these double shots, they're like full of milk and sugar and vitamins and Garnia and a bunch of stuff to cover basically the coffee flavor. I'm waiting to be able to find the Mexican chocolate double shots so I can use my catchphrase in Spanish that I've been using, cracking open a cold one for the working person, because whenever I pop open a French vanilla, I do it in French. Don't ask me to say what it says, because I did it via Google Translate. But still.
That'll be interesting. I could just show it to my dad and he would just laugh at you, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, is that because of the translation or because it's Bill?
Both.
I'm rude.
I don't think my dad's ever met you, actually.
No, he hasn't.
No, that'd be fun.
No, the only one of your extended family I met was your grandma.
Oh, yeah, but she's pretty cool.
Yeah.
She's also the only one who lives locally.
So, speaking of work, how is everybody's work, or lack thereof?
Oh my god.
Let's
you go first, Noelle.
Okay. I sort of leveled up at work. I say sort of because I'm not sure whether this counts as level up. I've accepted some new responsibilities due to a change in personnel. That's a good way of putting it.
Are they paying you more?
I have yet to have like 5 minutes to have that discussion because everything is on fire all the time.
On fire, open, flaming cans of paint.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm dealing with some staffing stuff, which is never awesome.
Never fun.
It's not a problem, except for the fact that it's a little bit of a problem. Because of the pandemic, some of our patients have been on hold. Some of our patients have been on hold before we could actually start seeing them. So that's fun. We're waiting.
Have people who you haven't even properly done intake yet with.
We've done like the basic intake, maybe.
God.
So it's like we got everything set up and then said we need to put everything on hold. And what are we gonna do? I literally have one person who has sufficient free schedule right now, I think. Like I said, I don't know. We have a bunch of people who are out. I've got somebody who doesn't have hours that I'm working on. Where am I going to put the people as they start coming back? Ohio is opening up, whether we like it or not. Most of us are not.
So Ohio,
But
what you are doing, is it because you don't consider it an essential service, or is it because your workers / patients are leery about having anybody showing up?
it's the having people in the house,
Gotcha.
which has been mind blowing to me because a lot of them live with families that go out or do things outside of the house.
Right.
So that has been interesting. Just the working around the we are a vulnerable population, but we also need your help.
Right.
But we're terrified to have you come by, or family is badly frightened. So it's been this, and now it's even more my problem to be on this endless emotional treadmill of comforting them, soothing fears, trying to get people to trust us enough to start new cases, and get back to where we were before the world ended. And I've been on the side, either attempting to help patients of mine and my fellow staff, obtain fabric masks because, God forbid, we find anything better. It's really hard. And we're in healthcare and we have problems finding it. And, my patients don't understand how to go to Etsy and find stuff. So I've been using contacts there. Now that our hair salons are opening up, I know 2 stylists who are vulnerable because of immune system issues. Fortunately, my boss through Ren Fair was working with somebody who was making face shields, plastic face shields. They're outside of the standard supply chain for things like hospitals that you would normally go to. So I've gotten that link and I have sent it to those people so they can share with their communities somewhere that'll alleviate pressure off primary sources so that we can keep getting that stuff to hospitals. Just because I'm a micromanager and I want to save as many people as I can.
Yes.
You'd think I was in healthcare or something.
I have a friend that has been doing a lot of making a lot of masks. And in fact, like she's already done like 400 masks that she's been giving to area hospitals and sending to friends and things like that. I could go through because you're at least looking for at least trying to get cloth masks. I might be. She's the one that was doing our warning message for the podcast.
Okay. Really, I have enough inexpensive sources right now within my own Ren Fair community.
Okay.
Of people who have lost money, I can help them out a little bit.
Gotcha.
We can kind of keep the economic plate spinning for all of us little people just a little bit. She should maybe contact in her state the salon board or the barber's board and talk about helping get with salons and get with places that are going to need it that are outside healthcare workers. Because if we're moving to a society like we should, and we should have done a while ago, where we wear masks in public when people have, contagious germs about. If we're moving that way, we need to get information about where to get supplies spread as far as possible to as many groups as possible. One of the things that I've noticed from the hairdressers and salon workers that I'm friends with through Facebook, or I've got photographers that I'm Facebook friends with who are stressing about, well, how do we run our studio if we offer wardrobe? How do we do this? How do we that? How can we afford to run our business when in this new paradigm when our margins were so tight before?
Yeah.
And I'm going to reference Final Fantasy again, and it's the Final Fantasy VII because I'm doing this now because the remake is amazing and you should all play it. See the episode with Alpha Riff for all the nerdy details, the queer nerdy details. It's great. but Tifa tells Cloud that, the people in the slums have to take care of themselves because nobody else is going to. And with the way our society is going, if we, the little people, don't reach out to each other
one's
and
gonna do it.
establish so we've got to help each other.
Yep.
So
I don't know who that was, but I agree.
my spouse likes to yell things in the background. He was reciting a little poem about May earlier, but I think we talked over him and nobody caught it.
Vive la révolution!
Well, we heard that, friend.
Okay. He's playing Fallout and eating.
Long live the fighters!
Yeah, can you stop? He's eating peanut butter out of the jar with a knife. It's his private peanut butter, so it's okay. He's double dipping. But he's just glaring at me through the space between my two monitors, scooping peanut butter out by the knife blade full, and just sort of staring at me over his glasses. It's a little menacing. I'm glad he's on our side.
I think we would be friends, he and I.
He's a good dude.
I mean, the only reason I don't eat by the knife full of peanut butter at my house is that I think I'd scare my roommates.
I live with someone with a really bad nut allergy, so I can't eat anything like that by the peanut butter by the knife full. But
all right,
I probably would.
When this is all over, you're coming to my place. I'll get you your own jar of peanut butter, and we'll just eat knifefuls of peanut butter.
No, I want Nutella.
I'll get you Nutella, whatever.
Nutella tastes so weird.
But it has to be a knifeful. Not a spoon, a knife.
Not a spoonful, a knifeful. I got used to Nutella just like I had a friend who was like super into it, and I was like, this is good. But then I discovered that Nutella and peanut butter on like Eggo waffles with a sliced up banana is the best breakfast.
Ugh, that sounds like food. That sounds like food before noon.
I love breakfast, and given that because my work just isn't a thing right now, my breakfast is usually at 2:30 in the afternoon and is pancakes and fried Spam.
Okay, well, let's get into Errick's work a little bit because
you kind of had a little bit of a meltdown from stress the other night in the vampire chat.
I have not. Okay, so to preface this, the vampire that I play is a theatrical rigger, and 175% I wrote him because I missed work, and I still miss work. I am also a theatrical rigger, theatrical stagehand, theatrical whatever someone needs me to do and will pay me decently.
You like to be paid for the danger in your work.
Oh my god. And the number of people who are like, oh, it's only $12.50, and I'm like, you realize it's like minimum wage in this state, and you want skilled labor out of me? Are you sure? Because that's not happening anyway. But yeah, I haven't. A lot of people were like, oh, now you're going to work from home or something like that. Like there was a transition time. For me, I was in the middle of a show run and got an email at about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, the day of a show, saying, we're not running, everything is canceled. And over the next 2 weeks, everything canceled. And it was like not just the show that was already run, but the show that was coming in next, several of the events that I was about to staff. So like I lost all of my work over the course of 2 weeks in batches because everyone was trying to figure out like who was going to pay out what and like what percentage of your work you were going to get paid for. And for some of it was nothing. Because for many reasons, including the fact that the stagehand union, like the theater union in Boston, is a little bit of an old boys club. It's not terrible. There's a lot of things that have been getting better about it, but it's still like if you're not really willing to take the chance and spend all of your time waiting for those first calls to get you into the thing, or into the rotation, it's a risk. So because I don't have union backup, everything is kind of by ear. Like there's no guarantees. So I was lucky I was working for a organization called Arts Emerson that worked really hard to try to get us paid out for as much as they could. And it wasn't everything, but it was a good amount of it. But it still sucks because there were really, really cool things that we were working on that never happened. And we don't know when they're going to happen.
Yeah. I feel that on a soul level, because I've watched half of my friends list go through roughly the same thing.
Oh yeah, because if you're in the Ren Fair world, none of that is happening.
None of it.
Yes.
Like the Ohio groups that I monitor, because there's 2 shows. Everybody in Ohio is worried. Ohio vendors are worried. The Ren Fair and the con circuit overlap.
Mm-hmm. Heavily.
They're in the same boat you are. They're watching their businesses just
Evaporate.
collapse.
I mean, and it's... Oh, go ahead.
And it's stressful because there are people who are like, I hope this con happens, or I hope this show happens, or I hope things happen. I'm like, please, no. This is a very marginalized community. These are poor people.
Mm-hmm.
Please, patrons, don't hope for fair. We love you and we want to see you too, but we also want everyone to live.
That's, I mean...
And it's so hard because you love your job, and I love my half theater, half retail, 100% insanity,
half camping
job.
Question mark.
Oh no, honey, this bitch don't camp.
It was camping for you is a slow room service.
Camping for me is having to go to a fast food restaurant on the way back to the motel room or the house. I sleep in a real bed with climate control, especially for the summer one because it's super gross. And a functional shower you don't have to share.
Pretty incredible.
But I mean, there are people who can't, like you, who can't pivot their skills. Like my boss has been helping people make face shields. He's been helping because his buddy needed somebody with an industrial cutting laser. Guess who has a laser? So he's working on that. He's been helping his wife supply one of our other vendor associates with fabric masks because she's an insane seamstress. She made an entire dress in 2 days. Like a Ren Fair with ridiculous trim. 2 days. She's terrifying, and I adore her. We're pretty sure she's not entirely human. Her creations are amazing.
Not being entirely human is also a not infrequent thing in Ren Fair.
Yeah. But I mean, she doesn't advertise it except for I made a dress in 2 days. Or I had the other one that's amazed me is she had some fabric and she just kept putting pieces out like you would lay out a divination until she woke up with the dress in her head and she had to make it so she could stop thinking about it.
I mean, that's the thing about, okay, so for making a dress or making face shields, or even if you have an act like you can juggle swords or something like that, you know, there is a level to which it's not sustainable, but you can actually like put that on social media and at least have interest in what you're doing so you can have something drummed up for when you come back, right?
Yeah, you can build, but for somebody who rigs for shows, you're just fucked.
I literally cannot do my job alone, and ethically I should not. It is too dangerous for me to do my job on my own. But also, there isn't exactly a counterweight system in my living room. Like, the most that I can do is practice math and, like, teach myself new ways to do different rope things. Like, that's the most I can do, is teach myself small skills at home or, like, practice some of that. But, like, I can't do most of my stuff in my house.
I have it figured out. All right.
Okay.
Now, hear me out. All right. This is gonna be the biggest thing that you could put on your Patreon and get all the views, all the hits, all the donation.
Nobody wants to watch you get tied up, Bill.
No. How to teach your cats rigging.
See, okay, here's the problem: is my cats are tremendously patient with me.
You don't have to do anything like an extravagant display or anything like that, but anything with rope you can have with yarn or something like that. And
Yeah, you
people
can't do that.
people
It's
would
not the same. You could use jute twine or linen twine, which is more
Yeah,
like
but-
rope, and you could build tiny little rigged sets and tiny little counterweights, and then build these miniature worlds for people to watch you do on, I don't know, OnlyFans, because I'm pretty sure there's some ASMR kink out there about people tying knots that you could monetize and maybe keep yourself busy that way. But
I mean, maybe, but all the knots that I know are self-cinching because that's the point of them.
but that's why you
You
throw
don't
the
want-
cats in there.
No,
I'm
you're
not saying-
nuts.
I'm not
it's
I'm not
bad for
saying
cats
tie
to be around self-cinching knots.
I'm not saying tie up the cats. I'm just saying get them involved somehow.
No.
You got ropes, you got cats. It smells money.
No, it doesn't. This
I'm-
is,
I love you, buddy. I love you, but no.
but no.
So- That being said, I'm finally starting to crack.
We can tell. Bill
Um,
hasn't dealt with like people outside his house in real space in a very long time.
You
yeah,
want to tell me about it? Gestures at my cats.
I mean,
Uh,
home health agencies are hiring, guys. We're desperate for people to have on backup or to do contactless groceries deliveries for the elderly to help us handle our shit. In case somebody has a suspicious cough.
I don't have a driver's license because I live in Boston, so I'm not sure how helpful I'll be.
yes, and I already do like customer service and payroll for home health stuff. So I don't need another job on top of my job.
I just need entertainment until someone can put me back in a theater.
Well, one of the things that I work from home at this, and
You bastard.
my company is across the country. It's in almost every state, and there's also parts of my company that are in Europe. Now, right now, the thing is, how and when are we going to open the company offices back up?
Don't.
It's supposedly
doesn't
going
seem-
to be. It's supposedly going to be determined per each office and their local guidelines. But I'm going to try to do whatever I can to keep working from home because, as much as I don't like commuting anymore. I'll be honest with that. The commuting I realized was taking just so much stress out of my day because of how early I have to wake up to make sure I get to work on time because I don't trust MBTA and things
You
like
can't.
that. So yeah, it was nice getting my Dunkin' Donuts in the morning before I go to work, but that's besides the point. But
I miss my terrible cold coffee. I understand that ostensibly I could actually go and get it if I really, really, really wanted to, but I don't. And so, but I
See-
miss it so much. I miss it in my bones.
that would require me to wake up early so I could get out to Doug's to get my coffee and get back home. That's why I started drinking double shots. It's a lot easier.
I actually bought a case. There is this okay, so near where I live there's a little Japanese store, like import store, that has these small cans of coffee that's
Yep.
actual Kona coffee.
Right.
And it's really expensive per item. I used to buy it and it's like $3 a can or something like that. I got a 24 pack online for just under $50, which is a real good deal for that stuff. And it's been dangerous. I've actually had to make it so I only put one can in the fridge at a time because they take so long to cool down.
That's what I have to do. Even with my double shots. I take it out and I put the next one in for the next morning. But
Yep.
Oh, you sweet innocent children who only drink one thing of coffee at a time.
no. It's more the
Oh
fact
no, I
that
still make myself hot coffee. I absolutely make myself hot coffee in addition to this like special thing. But
in my case, my supplement has been Coke, but
Not that Coke. We told you not to.
Yeah.
Don't do Coke, Bill.
it's really expensive and it's so bad for your blood sugar.
It's also terrible for the environment.
Yeah, no, I will say that this has been really bad for my Pepsi addiction, which I didn't have before this. I didn't. Honest to God, did not. It's bad.
I'd
But
feel like an asshole sitting over here and be like, I'm actually approaching my weight loss goals from
I mean, yeah,
stress
there's a
and
lot of things I could be
running
better
around
at,
like crazy.
well,
but that ain't
because I
good
need
for
to.
you either.
when it comes down to work and the office,
Mhm.
while no matter how much protocols my office would do to help out with like making sure social distancing is being kept, etc., I work in an office building that
Mhm.
has other organizations that are not related to my office in it.
Well, that's true for
Gross.
most of them.
And
I mean, mine does too, but it's like a real estate agency, and
now
they're bored out of their fucking mind.
on top of this, each of these offices, they don't have their own inter-office bathroom. You actually have to
Oh
leave the
no.
office and have shared bathroom space with
That's
the other
horrifying.
offices.
I mean,
So-
also us, but again, it's just me and my other coworker in the
Right.
office.
Um,
We've breathed
so-
on each other. It's too late.
So basically, the combination of these factors, I'm like, no, it's bad enough that I have to make sure I get to work on time. I either have to take 2 trains or a bus to the train to get to work. I don't want to go additional every time I have to go to the restroom that someone wasn't practicing social distancing and I'm going to the bathroom that is coronavirus on the toilet handle because you didn't wash your hands before you go into the bathroom.
And that's the thing that we're not like doing well with as a country, is because we don't have a concept of what the actual spread is going to be like. We
Right.
don't really understand like all the ways that you can actually pass something along.
Right. So it's trying. I'm going to be trying to working from home as long as possible. I know friends of mine that their offices have already said, yeah, we're going to keep you working from home until the end of the year, just because it's going to be
It's
easier.
cheaper.
And and that's why I'm trying to keep my. This is another reason why I was like pushing to go on. I'm also starting my Adderall tomorrow
Mhm.
on top of my Starbucks double shot and my Wellbutrin. But that's another reason why I'm trying to do as much work as I can at home to show my
Mhm.
productivity. Say,
Yeah.
look, here's me being productive at home, which is better than at the office. You want to know
That's-
another reason why I'm productive at home? I don't have to wear a dress shirt.
Pants.
I don't have to wear pants. Well, I should wear shorts at the very least because I have roommates. But still, I can wear my wrestling t-shirt and answer phone calls.
Yeah, that's that's something I'm going to be really interested to see after this, is if companies actually start to recognize how much cheaper and how much more efficient people are when they're at home. Because like even with kids, right? Even with all the distractions that come with being at home, because you don't have, there's a lot of external factors that you can control, even with having children in a home that you can't in an office, right?
Right.
So there have been a lot of studies in the past on smaller scales, obviously, about how much more efficient people are when they work from home versus when they work from the office. And a lot of people, when I'm like, there's so much data out there about this, they're like, oh no, but I work better in the office. I'm like, I guarantee you, if you actually
Out on us
had,
there.
sorry,
You're cutting out on us.
oh, I'm probably talking too quick. There's what did you last hear?
I work better in the office.
Oh, whenever people say, you know, I work better in the office than I work at home, I really want to challenge that, because one thing that is probably going on is they don't actually understand their own productivity metrics, for one, and for two, I can almost guarantee you that that's not truthful. That like if they actually did look at their productivity metrics and actually thought about that versus all of the time spent on everything else, they would understand that that's not true.
Um,
I'm a huge proponent for working from home.
I
If
think
you can. Obviously, I cannot.
I think it all depends on the industry and the employees themselves. I will just counter that by when I was working at my old job and I was doing in management. We had started a work from home program because it was like, all right, well, we're going to give this option. If you have scores that are at this range, you can work from home because you've shown that you know enough about the product and everything like that, that you can do this. And then we go through and send them home because they volunteered, they wanted to work from home, and immediately everything plummeted.
How long did you let them do the adjustment?
We wound up having them adjust for about 2 months. So they had like really high scores, and then everything plummeted. And it's like, nope, you come back, and you. Some people did fine. I'm not saying it's for that everybody failed, but we pulled back more people than were able to go out because.
Would you call it like 50-50, or would you call it like 30-70?
I would say 75-25, where we're pulling back 75 back to the office. Because and I'm going to say that there's probably other factors involved. A part of it is maturity level. And
yeah, that's a fact. Well, and also when you're talking about maturity level, a lot of times you're also talking about the other socioeconomic things that go into that. Because like if you have younger people, or you have people who haven't had the same access to like emotional support in order to do that, like actual maturing, or simply they're just younger. A lot of times they don't have, like, they're probably working with other people, or they're they're probably living with other people, or they're living with family, or they're otherwise in some other component. They're not in a situation physically that allows them to actually focus and get work done.
Right. And that's the thing is while their numbers were sinking, we were asking them, what's going on? Why is your numbers not being at the level? Is there something going on at the house that's causing distractions? And but again, also with maturity level, sometimes when you're at a younger age, you want to lie to make yourself look better or everything is okay because you're worried about other things.
And also like there isn't any, especially with larger companies in general, or sometimes even small companies, like there's no real reason to trust your boss sometimes.
Right.
Like, so
it's like basically the only thing that I miss from the office, so to speak, right now is occasionally going off and seeing Force at work because we're in the same building. And now that we're no longer roommates, not because of anything that happened, it's gone off to have his adventures in relationship, which is good for him. Great. Good job.
It is good for him.
Yeah, if you guys listen to it, my hats off to you guys. Miss you. I speak with Donnie every day and talk with wrestling or his Japanese courses, things like that. It's multiple things. It's that I see friends actual friends while I'm at work, not work colleagues. The only thing about my job that I enjoyed really was like I don't have to talk to anybody.
Oh my gosh. It will take quite a bit of desperation for me to go back to a public facing job because I did it for a long time because I'm very good at it. Like, I mean, I'm very, very good at being public facing because I have a lot of patience and I'm really good at communicating with people and making sure that they understand what it is that I'm saying. So like I have a lot of skills that make me very, very valuable in a public facing position. I can't stand it. I can't stand it because it's so much. Like, I will tell you that the work that I do, sometimes I'm working 50 something days in a row. Like, as in, I don't have a day off for that entire span of time. I will work at least 4 hours in every single one of those days. And I'm hauling thousands of pounds of stuff around, like loading and unloading trucks in every possible like weather. I've literally loaded a truck in the snow at 3 o'clock in the morning after like 6 other days of work that was 12 hours or more a day, right? Yep. That is less exhausting than public facing jobs.
Okay, see, it's like the job itself, like talking to, I'll say the customers or the people that we work with, I'm fine with that part. I'm just realizing that in this office, I don't have to actually talk to anybody in the office. No one comes to me for anything. And it's like, great, because my supervisor is in another state and they supervise us remotely. It's like, all right, everything is good. And I don't have to talk to people. And I can just, it's like, why do I have to wear a dress shirt when I'm not going to be talking to anybody?
I don't have to be presentable.
We're not on.
I will
We're
say
not
that
on video. We're not on video chat. And if they told us that we had to be on video chat, well, I'm wearing my the man who is now the mom. For those that, and while we are not a wrestling podcast, Becky Lynch, the man, is pregnant.
Oh,
So,
dope.
so the man is becoming the
mom.
mom.
Is also because you can still be the man and the mom at the same time.
Well, one of the
Let's
shirts
not-
that the WWE is already going for their cash grab is she's got a shirt that simply says the man, but now what they've done with the shirt is that N, they've basically made just like an outline just so it says the ma with an N after it. And Becky in her full kayfabe glory goes, yeah, you better be selling these shirts because I'm going to need to buy formula now.
Babies are expensive. Give me my cut.
Goddamn right. Insert rant about Vince McMahon here.
Speaking of other geek stuff, before we started the show, Eric pointed something out that I know Noelle's really going to like.
Yeah, that I posted about hours and like literally 12 hours ago.
Oh, is it the Neil Gaiman thing, the Sandman thing?
Yes, it's a very, very intense cast.
Yes. Okay, so for anyone who can't pick it up from just what we have said so far, Neil Gaiman became really quite famous when he was part of the creation and writing team for Sandman, the comic, which at this point has been out for more decades than I want to think too hard about, given how long ago it was that I first read it. And so they've adapted it to be an audio drama, more or less. And it's coming out, the beginning of it, I believe, is coming out on July 15th. And just scanning through, right, the ones that I'm very excited about. Michael Sheen is Lucifer. That Michael Sheen. You know, the one that just played Aziraphale on Good Omens, but okay. Andy Serkis is Matthew the Raven.
I know, that's going to be neat.
I'm so excited about that. Let's see.
Taron
Kat
Egerton.
Dennings is Death. Oh yeah, Taron Egerton is John Constantine. Constantine's fun in that series.
James McAvoy is Morpheus.
I know that I probably should have actually led with that one, but I just love Michael Sheen.
I know Michael Sheen as Lucifer in the Sandman comics audio drama is probably why 99% of the people are going to tune in.
Kat Dennings is Death.
Yes. Kat Dennings' Death is very exciting as well.
Now, I didn't actually read
Mew
anything
Mew.
about this.
Oh.
Is this just going to be like an
Yeah.
ongoing
Okay,
audio
that's-
serial? Or
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be like a weekly
It's gonna
installment.
be goddamn adorable.
They are working it as an audio drama, also starring. They cast Desire with somebody with a masculine name, which is neat because Desire is super androgynous.
Yeah. Oh, actually, if you look at that, it says Justin Vivian Bond. Vivian tends to be a femme name. I don't actually know that person. I'm gonna have to look them up.
Yeah, that's an interesting naming. I mean, people
Yeah.
get weird middle names all the time, but
Mm,
just
I'm gonna do the Google.
the talent on this list is
Oh,
ridiculous.
And I like that it's being done audio.
So just an offhand
Oh.
question to discuss, not.
Hmm.
Can we all agree that Elon Musk has lost his fucking mind?
Yes, we all understand.
His
Yes,
poor child.
yeah. On the subject of names,
Mathematical equation.
Grimes, honey, that's not goth.
I don't even
I
want
mean-
to. Okay, let's bring it back to Justin Vivian Bond, okay? Because I googled this human, and it is very exciting. Justin Vivian Bond, I'm reading from Wikipedia here, is an American singer-songwriter, author, painter, performance artist, and actor. Described as the best cabaret artist of their generation and a tornado of art and activism, Bond first achieved prominence under the pseudonym of Kiki Durain in the stage duo Kiki and Herb, probably Herb with an H in it. Bond is transgender and prefers the gender-inclusive honorific mix and pronoun V, as in V-self, instead of her or him. So that's really cool.
Like straight up perfect for Desire then. Excellent
I know.
casting, Mr. Gaiman. Well
Excellent.
done, sir.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful casting right here.
Now get Orlando Jones back.
I didn't catch that, buddy.
Whenever I think of Neil Gaiman and casting, I can't just think about Orlando Jones.
Yeah.
No, I'm so excited about this.
Save Orlando Jones. Save Anansi. Save Mr. Nancy.
I love him so much.
There's just the ridiculous amount of talent, the inclusiveness. There's a Johanna Constantine.
Is there really?
Yes, down and also starring.
The last time I read this was college, and I'm old enough that college was a long time ago, so I don't know.
I'm scanning the cast list, and so that's going to be interesting.
Johanna Constantine. I wonder. Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I wonder what that's going to be.
Oh, that's the one from Absolutely Fabulous.
Context, please. Continue.
Patsy Stone from
Joanna Lumley is from AbFab. Oh, that's going to be delightful. She's going to be a fucking delight.
All right, so because Eric doesn't know, there is this British comedy that ran until 2012. I don't know much about it, but my stepfather was like always watching this off of PBS. But it was basically about two middle-aged women that got into shenanigans, and they were always constantly drunk.
That sounds great.
And the person that's playing Joanna Constantine is one of the leads from that TV show.
Okay, for the nerd people, and people who are bigger Sandman nerds than me, which isn't hard, because I've never read the comics. I read the Dream Hunters. I know the lore and the aesthetics. I'm getting such shade, and everybody associates me with death to the point where I put up a panel of like a portrait of her by one of the comic artists, and a friend messaged me about, or like told me when I saw him, that's a really neat picture of you. And I'm like, I am death, destroyer of all, I guess. So, I think it was Christmas. It was either Christmas or my birthday. Every time is a flat circle, so it doesn't matter. But one of those two cardinal gifting holidays in a human's life, my spouse got me the licensed official sterling silver death Unk from.
That's cool.
DC, whatever, and I cherish it greatly. And I have a black tank top and a pair of black jeans and tall black Doc Marten. I'm a black wig and a black parasol. I'm a black wig away. And I have
those are not hard to get your hands on for how she styles it, like the fluff she does on her hair.
Yeah, I just really need a Joan Jett 80s wig, and we're done here. But just from my interaction with the comic, I've read bits. I'm very, I'm familiar with the world. Dream Hunters is one of the most amazing pieces of literature I've read. It's beautifully illustrated. But I am excited that this iconic and deeply important to literature, to comics, to a whole bunch of things. I mean, they stopped allowing graphic novels to win the Hugo. They created a category for them, I think. I
don't remember.
But Neil Gaiman keeps breaking the rules, and they keep having to invent new things to keep him out of trouble. And I mean, who's won a Hugo and a Newbery Award?
I'm sorry, that's a life goal, is like, do something so cool that someone has to break rules to give me awards because no one else could possibly get the award for that thing.
Or, they invent new rules because they're pretty sure no one else is going to do it again.
Actually, that's a fun story that's unrelated that I'll tell you later. Continue with what you were saying. I'm sorry, I'm bad at this.
Yeah, it was the, specifically, if we're going to talk about the Hugo Award for Best Graphic Story, he won a Hugo in 2016 for the Sandman Overture.
Which I don't think I've gotten to read, actually.
There's so much Sandman stuff at this point.
There's so much. I've read the original series of comics, as in like that first major arc.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the last time I read it was in college. So
I've read less than all of you.
I've just been fascinated. I've been fascinated the whole time with death, the endless, these huge concepts. These
It's a
archetypes.
really-
It's very young. It's very deep, and
Yes.
it's a comic book altogether. And that's sort of Neil Gaiman in a nutshell. I've described him to other people from, in tongue in cheek, as a genteel goth hobo that looks very confused about how he ended up where he's at.
God, if that is in the mood.
He just seems slightly lost and confused by what's going on around him. There's my exemplar of this trope of Neil Gaiman is a picture of him with Amanda Palmer at, I think it's New York's Mermaid Festival. They ended up somehow being the grand marshal for the parade,
the leader of the pack.
Yeah, so Amanda Palmer is Amanda Palmer and does what she do, and there's mermaid aesthetic involved there. And then there's Neil in a black suit with a beard that looks like it needs trimmed, and a haircut that, of course, is Neil's haircut. We all can see it. Yep. And he's, sort of in theme, but he also looks moderately uncomfortable and vaguely confused by what's going on. And like this was sprung on him at the last moment, and he's not entirely sure he wants to be there, which is indeed a mood.
I will say, so I've only met him once, and it was years and years ago. If everyone remembers, back in 2012, we were all supposed to die with the Mayan apocalypse or whatever.
Yeah, well, they were wrong.
They were wrong.
2020.
Or maybe we did.
Or maybe both.
One way or the other. Friends of mine, through other friends, were doing a huge had done a really big fundraiser in order to begin renovation on an art space. And one of the things that they had done as part of this fundraiser is basically, if you donated a certain amount to it, you got a ticket to this event. And I was one of 2 people hired to do lighting for this event. There's whole other fun things about like how I ended up being that person, which still to this day confuses me, and I could not give you a straight answer on because I don't remember.
Just accept that Neil Gaiman manifested in your life because it was meant to be.
The best part about it is it was end of the world themed. So 2 of my friends, who are incredible burlesque artists, did a Cthulhu like mythology themed burlesque piece. So I'm there working. I'm almost done with everything that I need to do. Like the next thing I need to do is actually just pack everything up and go home, sort of deal. Mm-hmm. And one of my friends who knew that I had taken the gig, definitely not for the pay, but for the opportunity to actually actually meet Neil Gaiman, but also like because this was a really cool gig, said she was like, "Well, have you met Neil yet?" And I was like, "Oh God, no. See, a little bit of background. I'm not in theater because like I want to be an actor or anything like that. Like my grandmother is a pretty famous performer. I've met Pulitzer Prize winners. I've met astronauts. I've met like the list of famous people that I have over my life like just come across is pretty big. And now that I work in theater and have been working in theater for as long as I have, both back when I did mostly rock stuff, but also now that I do like Broadway level like incubation stuff, I don't get starstruck. It's not a thing that happens to me, right? Mm-hmm. I got starstruck. I like glimpsed him out of the corner of my eye, froze up, and just melted into the shadows as quickly as I could, because that's a skill set that you acquire over time. And just like avoided any chance of actually meeting him because I had never felt starstruck before in my life. It was a completely new feeling. So my friend found out that I still hadn't met him and that the night is almost over, and is just like, no. Literally, you came here for this opportunity. He's written stuff that you've been talking about for years now. For some people, their first experience with Neil Gaiman was a like tattered paperback of his short stories called Smoke and Mirrors that I gave them with like a specific one bookmarked for them. And they're now big fans. So like, she was like, no, this is not happening, that you're getting through this night and you're not meeting him. But you have to like imagine this in your head, because it's me in like a really like shabby red hoodie that I have destroyed over time. normally super cavalier and easy to talk to people, and her, who is covered head to toe in body paint with like fanged mouths over her nipples as pasties, like
As one does when one's doing eldritch horror burlesque.
she is maybe half my size, and she drags me up the stairs of this, like, I don't know, parish house. I don't actually know what the thing was. It was connected to a church somehow. Drags me up there and like shoves me in front of Neil and says, "This is Jersey. He's a very big fan, and you've been a very big influence on his life, and he would love to meet you." And I was still completely frozen up, and like think I muttered something about how like his writing had influenced me, sort of deal. And like he's like, "Do you want me to, like, it's very nice to meet you. Do you want me to like sign something?" Like, because you can see I have like a comic book like under my arm, right? And he's just like, he understands that like people just get starstruck, and he was very, very lovely, and very, he was a very nice person to meet. If I was going to have one person that I was going to be starstruck in front of, he was probably the best person, because he was so gentle about it, and just so understanding. But I don't think I've actually met him since. I think I've seen him like somewhere around, because I live in Boston and he lived here for a while. But to this day, and since 2012, obviously, I've done a lot more stuff. I still have not been starstruck. Not the way I was with him. I still, like, I can still feel it in my gut, because that's how strong it was, like, thinking of it. Like, you know how you think of, like, a big scary thing that happens and you kind of feel a shadow of that?
Mm-hmm.
It was such a, I had one of those things I had just never felt before. Like, the visceral feeling is a memory now, because I had never experienced that. But I think that's, I mean, they say you should never meet your heroes, but I don't think that's true.
I mean, sometimes it works out okay. Sometimes your hero's
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman, and you know, we're on the subject of people who probably aren't entirely human. I've had stories from other friends who have asked him about, you know, so about the pretty functional magic stuff, and he just looks at them and grins and does not deign to answer. And because if you notice in all of his work, the magic makes sense and it functions. Like it's something you could, in theory, replicate. And
it's really wonderful that someone has that level of like fiction. I'm trying to figure out a way of articulating this. The fact that there is someone in the zeitgeist of fiction that is recognizable enough as Neil Gaiman, who has the level of
Care?
approachability.
No, I mean, no, that's, I'm sure, a function of it. I'm thinking more of like the alchemy. There is an alchemy to the way that he builds worlds and stories, even when he's building in other worlds. There's several of his short stories take place in like a Lovecraftian universe. And even in the Lovecraftian universe, there's something about it that he is able to make sense. It isn't outside of the realm of possibility, because he does this incredible job of making the extraordinary relatable, and giving extraordinary features to common and approachable people. Like, I'm thinking specifically of in Anansi Boys, the main character is Charlie, Fat Charlie, who is just
a dude.
He is a dude. He is so very a dude that, like, over time, as you learn more about him and what he is able to do, and he becomes more of the son of Anansi, you never lose that feeling of him just being a guy.
He's just a guy who's not particularly fat, and you know,
and has this lime.
Yeah, he's black in England, and he's terribly, just slightly lost the whole time as you watch that story unfold. And so you can very much identify with Charlie, or you can identify with
Shadow?
Richard Mayhew in
Shadow, yeah.
Neverwhere, or Shadow. They're always, when the perspective that we have for the story is sliding between the worlds and sliding underneath the surface of the mundane, he has the ability to convey how uncomfortable that can be, or how comfortable, depending on the situation, and how jarring the comfort of stepping into a space that is so wildly different. Like,
Neverwhere does a fantastic job of that.
yes, it is one of my favorite works of his. I understand there was a television drama and it's terrible. And so he wrote the book to fix everything. As you should. But I have on Audible, he reads it.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got Neil reading. Not all authors are really good at reading out loud.
Oh,
because
but he
this
really
is a skill. He is. And it just feels like you're cozy and you're curled up and there's tea and a fire and it's raining outside and it's November and this nice gentleman is telling you a story and everything in the world is going to be okay.
I think I know this is becoming like our segment on Neil Gaiman, but in terms of ones I would really recommend you listening to on audiobook that aren't read by him is Anansi Boys is read. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the name. Anansi Boys is not read by him. It is read by
but I have listened to it,
and it's incredible. It is probably absolutely you. If you have not read the book yourself already, please listen to it on audiobook if you have that kind of brain, because it is so well done. It's probably one of my favorites.
All right, I want to just go a little bit off topic, but on topic at the same time.
We don't have topics anymore.
The
world is ended. Like, there's no topics.
I'm noticing that
Lenny, the guy who narrates it is Lenny Henry.
Okay, you've looked it up.
Yes, I did. I did the Google.
I'm noticing that I can't listen to my audiobooks anymore or my podcasts anymore because
you're not commuting.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I have Anansi Boys on Audible lined up to listen to.
It's so good.
I have the other one that you mentioned, Neverwhere, lined up on Audible to listen to. But when I'm at home, most of the time when I'm listening to anything that's verbal, it's because I'm going to sleep and I don't want to listen to anything new because I might miss something.
That's fair.
And it's like
clean your room. Put it on, clean your room. That's when I do most of my podcast listening, even when the world is not ending.
That's another reason why I'm on Adderall. See, hopefully I'll get able to get more things done.
Yay! Everybody be excited. Bill is getting his shit together.
Yay!
Now if only his podcast partner could do the same thing. Oh, self-judging.
Listen, don't at me.
Alice is not here to defend herself.
Harsh. On the subject of medications, I had an interaction at work yesterday that actually proves that Prozac is great for rejection-sensitive dysphoria problems. It was wonderful. I got back in because I'm super new in these new duties, and I'm like, look, I'm the third person with this same problem. Can you help me out? Because my solution is X, and X is sort of the nuclear option. And the harsh option, and he doesn't like that.
Yeah.
So it's either figure it out or I'm going to have to, the council will make a decision. The council will make a decision, and it will not be a stupid ass one. So you can't overrule it, Mr. Fury. But he was the owner, I guess the nurse under whose license I practice, because that's how being a nurse's aide works, or one of them. His name is on my paycheck. Mm-hmm. He hates being called boss. Mm-hmm. I don't understand. I don't know how to work in this environment. I'll figure it out. But, when he gets into a topic, he can get very loud and kind of triggery and kind of talk down to you. But I think it's just, he's originally from Haiti. So we have a cultural communication thing. So that's I can sit back a little bit and go, I don't know how things work culturally, but you're not from northeastern Ohio, and I'm not from where you're from. So we have completely different means of communicating. Plus whatever his neurology is, plus my neurology, But
Mm-hmm.
the way the conversation went, normally I would wait for him to leave, and then I would go cry or sit in the bathroom and wish to cease to exist. But I didn't. And I've been on Prozac for about a month now, I think.
That's
Maybe a little
awesome.
longer. And it stopped the cycle. It was so nice to not go from 0 to can existence simply end
I will
in
say that
3 seconds.
that is a huge thing about medication that I will always really appreciate, is that when it gives you the space to stop a cycle, or at least have the opportunity to stop a cycle, like that's I hear sometimes people being like, well, medication doesn't fix the underlying problem. There's a degree to which that is not true, because brain chemistry is a real thing.
The underlying problem is a chemical imbalance.
Yeah. And look, no, they're not going to fix everything, because a lot of times things are aggravated by living conditions, are aggravated by like personal habit stuff that is just ingrained in the way that you conduct your life. Or job stuff going on, that kind of thing. Like my medication actually hasn't changed from the last place that I worked to working in theater again full time. I'm on the same stuff. Has not changed at all. But I'm a lot more functional a human doing theater, because I'm not good. For me, I am not good at being public facing, and that's what I was doing. So now that I don't have that extra set of stressors, I can be a lot better to myself and to other people, because I have more space. But I was not in a great space before I started on medication, because I didn't have that extra brain space in order to intervene and start to make anything better. So when you are able to start on a new medication,
Or a medication at all.
And it works, because not every medication. Sometimes medications can really aggravate something.
Sometimes medication just knock you the fuck out.
Yeah, and obviously that's not helpful. But when you get something that does work, finally having that small amount of breathing space to be able to make changes in your life, whether it is something big like a job or a home, or it's something small like, oh my gosh, now I have the brain space to make myself breakfast, and those little things that give you a little bit of extra energy and a little bit more processing can be so huge.
I mean, to add to that, both of you guys have been around me when I've been on medication but not regular therapy, and when I've been on medication and regular therapy. Because especially when I was living in where I lived before this, I would go into these pits of despair, and the first thing anybody asked me was, have you taken your medication? And I was like, no, I haven't, because I was just going to therapy at the same time.
Take your meds!
Because the combination, and you're lucky, and I'm going to say that I'm lucky in this factor. I have 2 therapists. I have my medication therapist, and I have my regular therapist. My medication therapist, I'm saying I'm lucky because he doesn't just check my meds, then toss me out of the room. He tries to make sure things are working, asks the right question, checks to see how I'm actually feeling, and how I feel the medication may or may not be helping, and talks through everything with that. So,
my God, his job.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, that's the job.
And on top of that, I'm saying lucky because when I was commuting, he's in the office until like 7 p.m.
That is fantastic.
You have on a weekday, you have no fucking idea how it is to get a therapist that's not just even late, but someone that's comfortable with you being that late. So the combination of factors was amazing. And my other therapist, one that I'm currently seeing bi-weekly because COVID, and I'm not getting like the interaction that I normally do, he works on weekends. So I don't have to use work hours to go see a therapist. And I'm one of those people that when things get closer to normal, I'm going to have to go back to see him weekly. Because if I'm not seeing a therapist weekly, I don't have people calling me on my shit. Because I'm able to hide a lot of shit from a lot of people that you don't even know.
Including yourself?
Including myself. And And basically, the first thing I told him, like, look, I talk, and I might seem to know, like, I'm talking about, and I'm probably lying to myself. So you need to call me out on things that even seem remotely too good or remotely perfect, or if I seem like I'm avoiding a subject by talking too much. So call me out on it. I know how to talk. And he's kind of like, I don't even remember the questions, but sometimes he just will ask me a question out of the blue, and I'm like, I have absolutely no idea to even how to approach that. And it's like one thing he just out of the blue said was like, when was the last time you actually stopped and said, I am actually happy? And this was like 3 weeks into seeing him. And I was like scratching the surface trying to like find something because I'm like, I don't know. That's when we were trying to go through and then determining that we need to get me on medication for sure. But
Yeah.
I was like so deep into the I don't know with that, what's going on, that all my happy thoughts were tied up with Umbridge. For the folks just now listening at home, Umbridge is the name of my ex, or the code word for my
The code
ex.
name. Because if we say the real name, Bill goes
That's
weird
a different
places.
podcast.
Well, no, if we say the X's real name, Bill goes weird places, and I'm not close enough to do that sort of crisis intervention therapy of
And honestly,
shaking him until he stops.
and saying Umbridge is actually better than saying the X.
Yeah.
Because it puts it in perspective. Because I could romanticize the X. I can't romanticize Umbridge.
I'm sure somebody has.
They're not my type.
That is.
Fanfic exists somewhere.
It
I don't-
sure as hell does.
I do not read the Snape Umbridge fanfic.
Oof.
I don't. It might not. It might not even be Snape Umbridge.
I don't.
Let's
This is a
not walk
tunnel
down
I
the
don't
path.
want to go down, buddies.
Welcome to the darkness that is my mind. Everybody's uncomfortable. I feel fantastic.
Anyway,
No, I just don't want to go there.
Anyway, what it boils down to is that, like, for example, you just like, he started peppering me all the time about anything that made you happy, anything that made you happy, anything that made you happy. And like every week I'm like, no. I mean, there's good things, but it's not like they brought any happy stuff up or no. And it took like 2 months until I was able to find something. And it was actually your brother, Eric.
What did he do?
He brought me Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And I thought it was like the nicest thing ever because I was sick and I couldn't go to. You guys invited me and I couldn't go because I felt sick. And he stopped by and dropped me off Thanksgiving dinner, and that made me so happy. I'm like, wait, I have a happy thought.
He's a good human.
So
he just turned 30, incidentally, and I made him a cheesecake for his birthday.
I keep on forgetting that you two are so young.
Okay.
That's besides the point. But
Yes.
I was able to like have a happy thought that wasn't related to Umbridge. So
yeah,
I had something to latch onto. And I was able to build, I was slowly being able to build off of that. Because sometimes your friends will try to do whatever they can to try to make you not depressed. Or they'll try to call you out on shit, but they're not doing it properly because you're able to already avoid all those minefields. Having somebody that, while they have your best interest at heart, knows absolutely shit about you to call you out on things is where the therapy and the medication coincide to make things work. So,
well, and that's the thing where it is important to have a professional and have someone who is not like in your day-to-day life sort of deal to check in with, because that it is always good to have like friends with whom you can confide. That's
right.
important, right?
Yes.
But having someone that you can go to outside of your day-to-day life that can help you put things in perspective without having their own, like, I don't want to say agenda because that makes therapists sound like they're trying to like do something bad or whatever. But
It makes you're saying agenda. It also makes your friends sound like they're after you for a specific thing. So
I mean,
yeah.
I am. I'm absolutely after you for. No, I'm kidding. But you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
It's like our friends want us to be happy, and they also want, and we. There's a level to which we decide that as great as our friends are, we have somehow tricked them, right? Like on some level, somehow I have managed to trick all of these incredible people into thinking that I'm competent, which I'm sure you saw in my Facebook post. I am very competent, and I'm very proud of that. But for a long time, I didn't think so. And
Correct.
it's the same thing with your friends, right? Like you have somehow tricked them into thinking that you're a nice person and you deserve to be happy, right? We're very good at building that narrative when we have either experienced trauma in which we are told that we shouldn't be happy, or we just have a disorder that does that to us, right? So
Right.
Yes.
yeah, when you have someone outside of that who looks at you and says, you know, like brings you in on that, it's very useful. It's very
Well, it's like,
useful.
in the professional, you can go off and actually say the things like, "This is something that I would have said this to my friend, but if I said it, they would worry about me, and I don't
Mhm.
want them to worry about me
Yep.
because there's no way I could say this particular thing without feeling like I'm causing them grief." And
Yeah.
you have a therapist or a professional to break things down for you. You could say it this way if you want to confide, or even if it's the worst thing of if you want to confide in your friend about that, that's the only way that you can put it.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell you that sometimes you're going to have to make the hard choice, and they're going to try to lay out as many options as possible. Like the medical therapist before the one I'm seeing, her suggestion was that I quit my job. And I'm like,
sure. I will just pay my rent with this tree here that magically gives me money.
and I will magically, and you're going to give me like free healthcare, right? Because when I quit my job, I'd said that toward like, yeah, when I quit my job, you're going to let me have these sessions for free since I'm not going to have insurance, right? Then she was like,
It's
yeah, all right. But it's like I'm lucky on that fact of the therapy aspects. I know this. And basically the only thing that people have said, only thing that they said to me with that they can say without basically breaking HIPAA is, except for like this last week, is like the only thing they told me was, you're the only one that's saying, yeah, I feel fine about everything that's going on. Because like I said, I'm just starting to crack, but before this, I'm like, I'm good. I'm working from home. I have less stress. I'm getting things accomplished. I'm trying to get things done. I feel good, but at the same time, I'm being respectful to others that may not have the same feelings that I do. So
yeah.
I'm being respectful of the fact that they are cooped up. They're not used to it. They need to be out and about. Don't know what they're going to do. They're furloughed or unemployed because of everything going on. All I can do is try to understand and not gloat. And if they ask me how I'm doing, I'm going to say, look, honestly, I'm feeling fine, but it's not about me at this point. It's about trying to help you out.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing what I can and I'm fine, so don't worry about me in that respect. If there's a specific reason you're worried about me, yes, I'm getting fatter because I'm drinking more soda, I'm eating more
Know it.
cookies, I'm eating more bake. Everybody's baking. So
That's
it's
the
like
thing.
everybody's got sourdough starters going.
Bread.
I don't. Not
I
yet.
haven't been inundated with bread from other people yet. I'm
Well, I
waiting.
think that would break quarantine.
Oh no, they can just leave it on the doorstep and flee.
No, I have to say that I don't know, dialing this out a little bit. It was something that I was thinking about earlier today, was for a culture that prizes individual liberty as much as Americans do. We're not particularly good at individual responsibility, right? Like, I'm trying to think of a good way to exemplify this. Like, obviously, like we have this small percentage of people making a really big deal about reopening because they want their haircuts, right?
Right.
there's a level of personal responsibility. Like, none of those people, if someone else in that crowd gets sick, even if they find out that they were like asymptomatic carriers, right? They're not going to look at that and say, I might have gotten that person sick, right? That is never going to occur to them, because there is a huge disconnect for us culturally between us being personally responsible for something, while also us having the ultimate freedom to make decisions for ourselves. And it's very strange, because that's like one of those, the gap there is kind of unfathomable, right? So if you are allowed to make any decision that you see fit for yourself, then surely you must also be responsible for the results of those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not something that is actually done in terms of their own mental math. And by they, I mean, like, I don't want to be like sound elitist about this. I don't want to sound like separatist about this. I don't want to sound like I don't think of myself as an American, because fuck you, I'm definitely a fucking American. Like, I've lived here my whole life. I'm a military brat. I have voted in every election that I've been able to. Like, I care deeply about politics. I care deeply about this country. But culturally, there are just so many things that just don't make sense to me. And this fetishization of liberty with a complete disregard for responsibility is just really profoundly disturbing to me.
Yeah, when you were talking about that, it's been going on in the news basically with graphics about that Washington choir where the one person had the virus and still went to choir practice. They've been doing more studies about that specific thing. I just made a post from the Business Insider, an example. That from that choir, there was 53 more cases with 2 deaths.
And that person does probably, like, maybe they're an exception. Like, maybe they are an exception and they feel really bad about this, and they actually do feel the responsibility, and there's something going on there but it's just, that is so, the likelihood of that, unfortunately, is probably not that high, because we have this idea that despite the fact we're allowed to make whatever decisions we want about ourselves and how we conduct ourselves, we're somehow also not responsible for someone getting sick from our choices.
Exactly.
It's very frustrating. But it's also, it is very much like, if we want to even dial this back further, like, I feel like it's like that separation is in some ways kind of an intentional thing, right? Because if going up to like talking about corporations as people and that sort of thing, if a corporation can pressure you into making a bad decision for yourself, like buying a car you can't afford, right? They're going to pressure you into making that decision, and you're going to make that decision of your own volition because you're an American and you have the ability to make that decision for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But they are going to wash their hands of you the moment that car is in your possession, because it's not their fault if you do something stupid with that car, right? It doesn't matter if they knew, looking at your credit, for example, that you can't afford that, right? They don't want any responsibility for anything that they've done. So this isn't just a person-to-person thing. This is a like institutional like view of how our world should work, I guess, is that you are at once allowed to do whatever you want, but also never be held culpable for your actions.
This actually is a good segue to something else that I wanted to bring up. So during this whole entire thing, I'm still going to school.
Yeah.
And my creative writing class ended, and now I'm in a social sciences class.
What an apropos time.
Yeah. And it's asking questions like, so tell us 3 things that are factors in your life that blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, all right, are you talking about in the before times or now? Because I don't remember the before times. It's been that long already. All I know is that the only factor is this pandemic. And this pandemic is causing all of my decisions. Every single decision I make is due to this pandemic. It's all related. and I'm like trying to go through it's basically a beginning social sciences class. It might be a 200 course, but basically it's just like a more organized version of the 100 course. It's like there is nothing that I can really relate to from what learning materials you're throwing at me right now, because everything is COVID-19, and the only thing that is even remotely amusing about this class is maybe going through and figuring out some information in regards to how this is affecting our lives or whatnot. I'm going through and I'm actually making an A in the course so far. Granted, only 2 things have been officially turned in, but one of the things was a short response thing about the setup. So one of the things is asking me about one of my teachers asked me about ask more details into my posts about the discussion about COVID-19. And I'm like, what other details can I give? Everybody is living through this.
Well, I mean, our podcast has sort of turned into this. We have a technical difficulty. I think the universe is telling us we need to stop.
I think so too.
Eric has cut out. It's okay, dude. Oh, you can't hear anything anyway, and we can't hear you. Fan-fucking-tastic. Fuck you, Craig. I'm gonna blame the bot, because it's always the bot. But to your point about what details can you add to this narrative, and on that note, we will wrap it up. The podcast has sort of become this time capsule for us. We're talking about, we're reaching out and letting people know they're not alone. We're telling little stories, how Eric's entire life has come to a halt, and who knows when it's going to start up again. And that's, some firsthand experience. Talking about all of the little things that we've brought up over the past couple of weeks, and when we go into health equity and how it's suddenly fine to open everything back up because all it's going to do is kill pores. This is all important work, and these are little things that we're adding to history and to the historical record. So if you're listening out there in meat space to us, write everything down, especially if you're stressed. Keep a journal. Write stuff down.
More.
You write a blog. You don't have to publish it, but we need to remember what's going on, and we need to remember the truth, because our world is only going to get smaller, and it's only going to get easier to share germs across borders and across oceans. So let's be ready for the next one.
So,
and on that note, you're all awesome.
I want to bring up one more thing before we head out, because we talked about it briefly last week. I just want to expand on it. I don't know about you, but I'm serious about helping out Gretchen.
I mean, I only have so much money, but if it ends with Boba Fett fucking pole dance, I don't see how this is a bad thing. We could, promo it with the
we're going to go through and push a fundraiser out just to try to get this done. So,
I mean, it'll put groceries. It'll keep her lights on. It'll put food on her table, and it will please me greatly. So yes. I see this as a win-win. If we can raise funds to make Gretchen do things in exchange for money, this is the way.
And we'll try to do more of this as the year goes on with other people too. But I'm gonna go through and watch this space, listen to this space. We're gonna put out more details about that, and
how to help people.
Help us fund this out. So the Boba Fett pole dancing, sponsored by the funds from We All Have an X-Chromosome and their supporters. So
from the intersectional feminist sphere of We All Have an X-Chromosome, because what can be more intersectional than supporting burlesque dancers and other sex workers? Also, please remember, go listen to Alpha Riff stuff, stream his stuff. You don't even have to officially listen to it. Are you leaving the house for 10 hours? No, you're not leaving the house for 10 hours. Who am I kidding? Nobody's leaving the house. When you go to bed, stream his stuff in another room. just so he's getting hits, so he's getting revenue. Rate review his stuff, push the algorithms for him so he can get his life back together because it went to shit when all of his shows got canceled.
And
if you know performers and you know vendors and you know people, if you were going to go to a con, you were going to go to a show, you were going to go see someone live, see your local band live, Venmo them some money, or PayPal, or find a way to kick them some cash. You were going to spend that money on them anyway. They still need it.
You're going to buy a shirt, still go buy the shirt.
Buy a shirt. If you were going to go to the last couple weekends of Arizona Renaissance Festival and you didn't get to go, find all of the Fair Relief 2020 and all of the other sites. I think there's a virtual Ren Fair that is all about featuring shows and vendors and all of the stuff you love about the things we're not getting to do in meat space, so that we can all get together again as soon as it's safe.
I miss meat space.
I don't. I'm in it still. It's full of awful.
Well, rephrase. I miss the meat spaces I liked being in, like being in a tabletop game with my friends and things like that. Not like.
I have been.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been reminded of Consolation, spelled CONCELLATION. There's like a con, but it's a Facebook group that features convention vendors and acts and all of that stuff to help your con circuit gigs.
It's a never-ending NeverCon.
It's a con you don't have to put on pants to go to. What could go wrong with that? And you also don't have to worry about about your gamer funk bothering other people because you're at home. You don't have to shower or worry about any of that stuff. If you want to sit around in no pants and shop and walk a virtual dealer's hall, no one can stop you. But
I mean, I want to give credit where credit's due. I know LARPers that are still going through and putting up their wearing full dress for their tabletop games on Zoom just so they can feel normal. Because
and I get that. That's important anyway. Too. Yeah, that's important too. Do your routines if you're doing a virtual gaming group through Zoom or one of the less spyware video chat platforms. There are a bunch, including Discord. Fucking use them instead of Zoom. Zoom is trash.
They're not trash. They were unprepared.
But they also like to communicate things to cops. Like they're a little bit spyware-y, a lot. But be careful what you're using.
This app that suddenly got hammered.
Yeah, welcome to everything pivoting in a completely different direction. If you notice, the industries that are full of, marginalized people have managed to redirect and rebound, like teaching, which is a lot of women, and healthcare is really important, and retail and food service, which is getting hit disproportionately, and had to pivot and refocus really fucking fast to even try to not founder. It's where the marginalized people work. So again, we are the slums. We are the slums of Sector 7. We have to take care of ourselves because Shinra is not going to. They're just going to drop the plate. So
I think that's a good way to go through and end this. Next week, we're going to be talking about health inequity, which really is triggering all of us right now.
Yes, because most of us are poor and don't have access to healthcare or mental health care, and poor people get hit by sickness a lot more hard, a lot harder. My English, it sucks. The marginalized and the poor get hit disproportionately with everything, and we'll get to talk about some really dark, serious stuff. So we'll try to make sure there's verbal kittens throughout.
We have a guest for that, and we will also prep the verbal kittens just for little breaks. So
yeah, because
my name's Bill,
and I'm Noelle,
and now it's time to kick out the bot, and we all have an X-Chromosome.
Yes, go away, Craig. Get out.
As a breath
Bye.
we took, may the lessons glide swiftly as the wind. gentle as a sigh. Hear it calling me home. Hear it calling me listening. Hear it calling my soul. Come and be my guide, walking by my side. As a breath be taken, given, taken, given, calling me home. Come and be my guide. Dum, 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 da, dum, 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 da, dum, 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 da, dum, dum, da, da, dum, 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 da, dum, 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 da, dum, dum, da. May my voice be strong and this step be light. May our learning come on this wheel of time. As a breath be took, may the lessons glide swiftly as the wind, gentle as a sigh. And hear it calling me home. Hear it calling me listening. Hear it calling my soul. Come and be my guide. Hear it calling me home. Hear it calling me listening. Hear it calling my soul. Come and be my guide.